Hey, welcome back to another video. I am Ramona, and this video is titled, Has Anyone Had an Encounter with an Angel? So let's find out. I have an idea the answer might be, but this is something I wonder about a lot. Surely if people in the past had angel encounters, they are still likely to happen at times today. Someone else says, yes, I have seen angels. More details, please. I honestly really don't talk about my supernatural stuff down here a lot. Sometimes people can get caught into the trap of comparing, so it's more something I talk to one-on-one with people. I will say that I have seen big ones and human-sized ones. I don't know if I have, but my grandmother believes she did. Some older gentleman knocked on the door, asking for food. She gave him some canned food, and then he said, "You'll be rewarded for this someday," or something like that, and then he left. She looked out to see where he went, and he wasn't there anymore. I don't know if that was an angel, but I know she wouldn't lie about something like that, and my grandfather saw the whole thing as well. This happened a very long time ago, but to this day she believes it was an angel testing her. When I was a teenager, I was riding my bike to school in the morning and pulled out in front of a car that I hadn't noticed. I heard the brakes coming at me. There was no doubt that I would be hit. Then I heard a voice in my head that was not my own say, "Stand up. Pedal as hard as you can, and when you feel the bike kick out from under you, roll with it." So I stood up, started to push the pedal, and the back of the bike kicked out from under me as I launched across the road. I hit the pavement and rolled with the momentum a few times, and then stood up, unharmed. I can't say that it was Angel, but the voice felt as comfortable as my own, and I haven't heard it since. And that car should have killed me. As far as I know, the last angelic appearance was in Revelation, and it told us everything we needed to know. Ha! I love this. I've heard that voice too, a couple of times actually. Sadly, most of it was in the form of, "That's not yours, so not nearly as exciting as your bike story." As a librarian in a small private Christian school, people give me their hand-me-downs all the time. I once got 3 giant bags of newish paperbacks, very third grade, that wouldn't have held up in a library but were fine for a classroom. I often take these donations to a resale shop and swap them for stuff more suitable for a library. I was in the parking lot, books loaded into my cart, ready to go and swap, when the voice said, "That's not yours." So warm, so comforting. Of course, I immediately said, "Yes, they are. They've even got my name on it." The second I said that, I knew. That third grade teacher in her first year who had nothing class library, whose books, enough of for a full classroom library, those were hers, not mine, even though it had my name on it. I didn't want to give her my swap books, but I did it anyway. She needed them, and I just wanted the joy of finding another good book that I wouldn't remember in 6 months. I hope you hear that warm, comforting voice, even if he's not saying something you want to hear. It's special, and you won't forget it. And the reply was, "That wasn't an angel, but the Holy Spirit in my story." So before my son was born, we had doctors worrying us about an issue he had with his kidney. My wife would cry, and I'd pray, and felt no presence or nothing a lot. At work on my third shift job, my buddy texted me and asked me how he was. I explained the situation, and he messaged me with, "Gatlin will move so many mountains." My heart filled up, and I prayed, "Hurt my kidneys if it fixes his. Do any damage to me to heal him." I heard it in my heart like someone talking to me. "Now you know how much I love you." I burst out crying. I kept saying, "God, you are so amazing," over and over is all I could say. I didn't speak in tongues, but it felt close. I felt like I could flip a car over in the name of Jesus. Laugh out loud, my son is healed. I had an experience, but it was a long time ago. I never forgot it. It was a spherical light, about 3 feet from the floor and not quite to the ceiling. It was so peaceful, loving light. I said, but without talking, "Please, love, please take me with you. I want this everlasting love, peace, joy feeling." It left, particles of light in my room when it left. I got up and prayed for my mom who had cancer surgery. Turns out she was very depressed during that time. I had no idea. I remember it so vividly. I wanted to go with it, like, "Please take me with you." Whatever it was from, whatever it was doing, I just wanted to be with it forever. Most peaceful, warm, joy, loving feeling I've ever met. It was all telepathy. Basically, it told me no. It came to tell me to pray for my mom. I knew because it told me like an impression. It never spoke. I never spoke. I just knew. Crazy, huh? If you had such an encounter, you'd be terrified. Every time angels show up in the Bible, they say something like, "Don't be afraid." They are terrifying. The angel Gabriel introduces himself in Luke by saying, "I stand in the presence of God." This is a being who stands while in God's presence. They are mighty spirits, not winged infants. If you ran into an angel, you would most likely be overwhelmed with a feeling of uncleanliness and smallness. My oldest son was in ICU at 6 months old, and they were talking about performing surgery on him. I was a detective and was testifying in court and went to the nearest Catholic church to say a prayer for him at lunchtime. As I was leaving, I noticed an older lady in the back of the church staring at me. As I got closer, she said, "It's going to be all right. You know it's going to be all right." My son recovered with no surgery. 8 years later, my second son, 3 months old, is in ICU. Again, possible surgery. I am now retired and working as a bodyguard. I was leaning in my car outside my boss's residence in Manhattan, stressing again, and I see this face about a half a block away and a sea of people staring at me. This older lady never took her eyes off me, and when she got close, she said, "It's going to be all right. You know it's going to be all right." Son 2 has also recovered without surgery. Almost certainly. About 6 years ago, was woken up at 4 a.m. in the morning, a month or two after posting a comment on a forum that angrily said the entropy wins and the universe will die a heat death. It won't. Was the most terrifying experience I've had spiritually. I've been thinking in the past year that the idea of God will prevent this universe from dying a heat death is perhaps one of the more scandalous declarations that can be made in this generation. This generation seems to have the math figured out. The universe runs on entropy. God doesn't modify decay rates. Heat flows from hot to cold. If God is going to let this universe burn out, then it will die a heat death. So if that's not going to happen, then the laws of physics of the whole universe have to be stopped and changed. And that's sort of what the Bible promises will happen depending on how you interpret it. New Testament Right has a book, or NT Wright, has a book, Surprised by Hope, that covers part of this. Basically, the American Christian idea of save the earth, God needs something to burn, is completely wrong. I've never even heard of it. No, not, but it's important to test the spirits if they do. It says in 1 John 4:2, by this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come into the flesh is from God. So you test it by asking if Jesus has come in the flesh. I suppose that's one way of thinking about it. Some days we have spiritual encounters that we don't notice as much. A spiritual encounter can come in many different forms. It could be visual, it could come to you in a dream while you were sleeping, or even a daydream. It could be something you hear, or even an animal or object that's simply acting awkwardly with you specifically. A long time ago, I saw a video of a dog that kept repeatedly jumping in front of the man's car to stop him from accelerating further down the road. After a while, the dog let the man drive by to the nearby four-way intersection ahead, where he then witnessed a horrible accident because someone ran the red light at a high speed. Could that dog have been controlled by an angel or the Lord himself to protect the man from the accident above? It's very possible. In the past, on many occasions, I would hear a voice in my head that would alert or simply advise me to save myself or someone close by from a disaster. Now, I am sure a lot of people would overlook this. But aside an angel or God himself, what logical explanation is there to explain a random voice in your head that gives you advice and awareness to avoid such disasters? Here is another true story. One night, I was sitting in my bed in the dark working on my laptop. I was completely focused on my work and didn't feel anything out of the ordinary. All of a sudden, a voice in my head said, "Look down at your left shoulder." I immediately looked and saw a big spider on my shoulder. I freaked out when I saw that. Ha ha! Had it not heard that voice, I could have been bit. And who knows? That spider could have been venomous for all I know. There's no earthly explanation for such experiences. That doesn't even include the tragic experiences I could tell you about regarding my family. One more true story. My brother and I were visiting Chicago, Illinois, aka Duck in Hiding Where the Streetlights Come On City. I was just exploring the city, and we stopped to start debating on where to go next. Something told us to just go back to our hotel room, so we did. When we got back to our hotel room, my brother turned on the television and saw the local news. Turned out a deadly shooting occurred minutes after we just left the spot where we were literally just standing in. And no, this wasn't an area that was notorious for such violence in the city. Have you ever seen an angel? Not that I think of, But I do know that some great followers of Christ personally who have via reality and dreams. You could call them liars, but as long as I have known them, they have never known them to tell a lie, nor have any reason to tell such lies. And the reality of the subject is that we all have an angel that watches over us and reports our actions to the Lord. According to a great friend of mine, he told me that his and his mother's heard an angel speak to the Lord about me because I was trying to help them with a great blessing the Lord gave me. If you are a person who would like to be blessed to see the Lord or an angel, all I can really recommend is that you pray. Just pray with your deepest sincerity and he will bless you. It is very important that you're sincere because the Lord could see no reason in blessing you with such experiences if he feels you don't truly make a difference regarding who you are or what you do. Which makes sense to me. No point in taking a drug addict to a rehabilitation center if he or she is not truly ready for the change to be better, since that's where the rehab process will start. God bless. Multiple times I have encountered angels that the Lord has made it known to me as to who I was interacting with. I have seen an immeasurable amount of them take flight or go out to be, tend to, protect, minister to with people. Enough encounters that the Lord has made it a strong point to me that we indeed encounter them more often than we know all throughout our lives. I saw a couple of angels. They were wearing gowns like this, but the sleeves were shorter than the elbow. The gowns were light blue, light pink, and white. They were beautiful, looked human. The only two that stand out to me most was a woman who had curly, long blonde hair. She had a pink gown, and the guy who had dark hair had a blue gown. They were smiling, and they had big, beautiful wings. I was sitting on the bathroom floor with my feet in the shower. I've never been so broken. Then I heard "stand up" in my mind. Without hesitation, I rose to my feet. Standing in the bathroom, the steam began to circle around me. The hair on my body stood on end. I could sense I was waiting for something. Then suddenly, organically, I was held. I was totally cocooned. I described it as being coated in honey, made from love. It suspended me, held me into a position which could have been uncomfortable, but I was supported, and I felt perfectly comfortable. I was so stunned, I heard, "You are loved. I am always with you. I will protect you." My eyes were wide open, and tears fell without me realizing. I couldn't think. I was a recipient. Then it faded away in a way that felt like I was watching butterflies floating away. I was no longer supported, and I fell to my knees. On the ground, I sobbed, "Oh my God." I got to my feet and started saying, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." I ran to my housemate, who was so surreal. It was so surreal. I was a mess and wide-eyed and absolutely been visited by something. It was so difficult to convey the magnificence of the moment to someone who was not there. I pray that everybody has an encounter such as this. It was one of the most special moments in my life. Hi there. I also met an angel. I was depressed and I was lost. I tried to KMS, but it never happened. It felt like someone was telling me not to every time. Oh, I get it now. And then one day I heard a voice of a woman. She told me many things about Christ and how to live. She's one of the reasons why my faith has increased, and she got me to read the Bible. I have more to the story, but it sounds almost unbelievable. It's a big secret of mine since nobody would believe me. I would like to talk to someone about it, though, maybe to help me learn more. I've met this angel more than once. Not me, but a bus driver that I was doing bus aid duty with told me a story. One morning she was driving her bus like normal, and she came to a red light. Then it turned green, and she heard a voice in her ear say clearly as day, "Don't go yet." And that moment a car came speeding illegally through its red light. If she had gone, the car would have T-boned the bus, and the driver would have certainly died. I told her that was a good angel. Another person I knew told me the story about how she broke her pelvis. She was riding a horse one day, and suddenly the horse bucked her off. Instead of feeling fear, she suddenly had a weird sense of reassurance, as well as a warning knowledge that she was going to break her hip, but that it was going to be okay. Sure enough, she did break her hip, and today she still has a limp, but a very strong faith. Don't ask me why she had to get a broken hip, but I know she wouldn't have met as many people as she did if she hadn't. Another person told me a story about an older member of their family who lost her husband. She said that one day before her husband passed, I think, she suddenly saw a young man appear randomly at her house, and instead of being scared and angry, she felt reassured and safe. The man had red hair and freckles and was wearing a blue robe. I think it was blue. And he didn't say anything, but gave her a smile that seemed to say, "It's okay. I'm here protecting you." He was there for only a moment, then disappeared, and she wasn't scared or weirded out, just comforted and reassured and safe. When she lost her husband, she said she was crying in bed, just gut-wrenching sobs of grief, when she saw the same guy floating above her bed with a sad look of empathy and concern on his face. Then he disappeared. I thought it was cool and very nice of God to show her that she was accompanied by a kind angel, even though it was kind of sad because she lost her husband. I have other stories, but they're more to do with demonic things, and I won't share them in this thread. I have not had an angelic experience, but I am fully aware of yet. I did have my Native American spirit guide appear before me the first time when I was a child. I was shocked. The night prior I had asked for help because I had lost my purse. As soon as I awoke, he appeared with a full headdress and showed me a vision of where my purse was. I checked, and there it was. However, I do know someone personally who was literally healed by an archangel. I adore this story. He was cooking and forgot his food on the burner. It quickly became a grease fire, and he did one thing that you should never do. He put the pot under water, and it exploded on him. He had major burns on his arms. His skin was falling off. The doctor said he would need his hand and eventually arm amputated because the swelling was so severe it was cutting off circulation. He was not awake of the prognosis because he was pumped full of pain meds. He remembers daydreaming and being transported to a garden. He was met by a being there who immediately identified as Archangel Raphael. Raphael took him to a waterfall and told him to place his arm under. The 3 weeks he was there, the arm was getting better. He was regrowing his skin and even hair. The doctors had never seen anything like it before. He was a medical miracle. Doctors came from elsewhere to see. He was eventually released from the hospital and only had to do physical therapy, but he kept his arm, all because of the Archangel Raphael. That's pretty cool. I like that story. I hope you like that story too. I hope you're liking these videos. Hope you're enjoying them. If you are, would you mind leaving a like or maybe a comment? And go check out another video. I would appreciate it. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.